NGO management. This is the topic for today's videos. We'll talk about the NGO management. What exactly is it all about? The term NGO or non-governmental organization came into use in the year 1945 because of the need of United Nations to differentiate in its charter between the participating rights of intergovernmental or specialized agencies and those from the international private organization. At the United Nations, virtually all type of private bodies can be recognized as NGOs. They only have to be independent from government control and not seek to challenge governments either as a political party or by narrowing focuses on human rights, non-profit making, non-criminal. These organizations may qualify for some sort of income tax exemptions too, or other financial incentive, perhaps benefit. Regional and local tax exemption may also apply on the region by region basis. As of 2005, there are approximately 60,000 NGOs, remember, registered and unregistered, active in Pakistan per se. A disturbed country as Pakistan also have approximately 60,000 NGOs. The definition of NGO, as per World Bank, the diversity of NGO strains any simple definition. They include many groups and institutions that are entirely or largely independent of government and that have primarily been humanitarian and cooperative rather than commercial objectives. They are private agencies, industrial countries that support international development, indigenous groups organized regionally or nationally, and the member groups in villages. NGOs include charitable and religious associations that mobilizes private funds for development, distribute food and family planning services, promote community organization. They also include independent cooperative community associations, water user societies, women group and pastoral association. Citizen group that raise awareness and influence policies are known as NGOs. Other international agencies look for additional characteristics. Perhaps the most important are that of NGO has capacity, meaning that it knows how to make a plan or has resources to carry forward with it, and that is ready to be held accountable for its action. Agencies may look for an established headquarters, may look for a democratically adopted constitution, separation of the policy makers and executive. This means that there is one group of people who decide on the policies of NGOs and a different group of people doing the work, the employees or the executive. The third group involves are the people who benefit from the NGO, the beneficiaries, and the pool of the people would represent these beneficiaries. They should also have some real life examples of the way they carry out their employees approach the jobs. That an NGO has at least existed for 2 years, that it is not politically partitioned, that it does not use advocate violence, that it is funded mainly by individual members. Although in poor countries this is often impossible, it is not necessary that each NGO should do everything of the above. All NGOs can take different forms. Think about it, what is really important. Many of the factors listed above are about to behave as a formal organization. Small NGOs may do fine without much formal shape. Small countries make legal registration unnecessarily difficult or attain political strength. It is possible to have various interpretation of many of these terms, such as universal humanitarian values. Good NGOs might end up looking very different from one another. Allow me to quote definition number two. The definition we wish to use is that NGO should aim to be non-profit, non-commercial, non-governmental. It should subscribe to the universal humanitarian values and practice. It should have the capacity and be ready to be held accountable for all of its action. Types of NGOs. So we have charitable orientations often involves top-down, paternalistic effort with a little participation by the beneficiaries. In fact, beneficiaries are only at the receiving end. It includes NGOs with activities directed towards meeting the needs of the poor, distribution of the food, clothing, or medicine, provisions of housing, transport, schools, etc. Such NGOs may undertake relief activities during natural and man-made disaster. Service orientation includes NGO with activities such as provisions of health, planning, family planning, or education services, in which the program is designed by the NGO and the people are expected to participate in implementation and in receiving the services. Participatory orientation is characterized by self-help project where local people are involved, particularly in the implementation of the project. By contributing cash, tools, land, material, labor, and in classical communities development project, participation begins with the need definition and continue to into the planning and implementation stage. Cooperative often have a participatory orientation. Empowering orientation is where the aim is to help people, the poorest of all, develop a clear understanding of the social, political, economic factors affecting their life, and to strengthen their awareness of their potential power to control their lives. Sometimes this group develops spontaneously around a problem or an issue at other times outside the worker from NGO play a facilitating role in their development. In any case, these are there is an uniform involvement of people with NGOs acting as facilitators. We have the community-based NGOs, the CBOs, are arise on the people's own initiative. Now, beneficiaries themselves are creating NGOs. These can include sports club, women organization, neighborhood organization, religious and education organization. There are a large variety of these. Some are supported by NGOs, national or international NGOs, or bilateral or international agencies and other independent of outside help. Some are devoted to raising the consciousness of the urban people poor and help them understand the rights in gaining the access to needed services, while others are involved in providing such services. Then we have the citywide organization, which includes organizations such as the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Coalition of Business, Ethnic and Educational Groups, Association of the Community Organizations. Some exist for other purposes and become involved in helping the poor as many of the activities, while others are created for the specific purpose of helping the poor. National NGOs include organizations such as Red Cross and the professional organization, etc. Some of these have state and city branches and assist local NGOs. International NGO range from a secular agencies such as Save the Children, Oxfam, CARE, Ford, Rockefeller Foundation to a religious motivated group. Activities vary from mainly funding of the local NGOs, institutions and projects and implement the project themselves. So the question is, are you cut for this? Starting a non-profit is very much like starting a business. It is just that you have to find donors instead of investors. However, donors today demand that non-profit is run like a business. You will need a business plan plus produce measurable results later on. You will, just like a business owner, have to put in long hours, probably without pay, until you get a new enterprise up and going. Some people who start NPOs, that's non-profit organizations, have to keep paying jobs during the startup period. You will need not only passion for your causes, but a big dose of entrepreneurial spirit. Now, the question is, do you have the original idea? With so many non-profits already in existence, is it likely that there are one or few that have already claimed your idea? Do you do your research and locate your non-profit organization that is similar to the one for which you propose? If there are organizations out there that have the same mission and they are doing a good job, it is going to be very difficult for you to attract donors, foundation grants, or any other kind of support. You may be passionate about your causes, but the non-profit markets will be a not much redundancy. Now, the question is, how is it new non-profit necessary? Yes. If you have to answer this question, you have to start with a new non-profit organization to make a difference. You might be able to work with your existing organizations to establish a few focus that the NPO. You might also work out your passion by volunteering with such an existing organization. Perform a need assessment to make sure that your organization is really required. So, beginning stages of NGOs and how do you come across? The first is passion. Second is a group of people who share the passion and the vision to match. The third is a good relationship with the people that you want to help, the beneficiaries I'm talking of. In most countries, NGOs start one of the two ways. One is where there is a group that has no voice but needs to find one. A few people in this group, perhaps the parents of the children with disabilities, starts to meet, decides to organize themselves in the order to get more resources for their children, for their family. This is a classic bottom-up approach. Second is a group that people with education or status decides to adopt a cause that will help them. For example, older people with cancer or a village group who are interested in planting trees. The difference, remember, the difference between these two groups, the one which is from bottom up, the other one is top down, is that with the parents of the disabled children and the other bottom up groups, the prime or the original beneficiaries of NGOs are themselves and their families. This ensures that the beneficiaries are treated well. With the second group, there is us, the people who are doing good, and them, the people who have been done good. Whether the second group of the NGOs will build well depends upon whether they will move to the beneficiaries from outside to inside, making them a part of us. The advantages and disadvantages before I wind up this particular video. The advantages, they have an ability to experiment freely with innovative approaches and if necessary to take the risk. They are flexible in adapting to the local situation, responding to the local requirements, therefore able to develop integrated projects as well as sectorial projects. They enjoy good rapport with the people and can render micro assistance to the very poor people as they can identify those who are being most in need, the tailor assistance to their need. They have the ability to communicate at all levels, from neighborhood to the top level of the government. They're able to recruit both expert and highly motivated staff, and despite restriction than the government. The disadvantages: paternalistic attitude restrict the degree of participation in the program, probably the project design. Restricted constraint ways to approach a problem or an area. Reduced replication of an idea due to non-representation of the projects or selected area. Relative small project coverage depends on outsized financial resources. Territorial possessiveness of an area or a project reduces cooperation among agencies because they are viewed as threatening or competition. With this, I come to an end of this video. Thank you for watching the same.